Welcome back. This is Module 1, Part 4 for first year BA LLB syllabus as per Mumbai University. Let's take up the question Law of Demand, Elasticity of Demand, and Law of Supply. Let's look at Law of Demand. The Law of Demand states that ceteris paribus, all else being equal, when the price of a good increases, the quantity demanded decreases, and when the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. This is an inverse relationship between the price and the quantity demanded and is evident across various sectors in India and everywhere else. Let's look at demand for gold in India. India is the second largest consumer of gold after China. When the gold prices rose from 48,000 per 10 gram in 2021 to 61,000 in 2023, demand dropped by 18% in second quarter of 2023 as per the World Gold Council. Conversely, during festival seasons like Diwali and Akshay Tritiya, despite price fluctuations, demand surges due to cultural preferences, showing that non-price factors also influence demands. That is taste and preferences. Second, automobile industry and demand shifts. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, car demand fell sharply due to income uncertainty. The sale of passenger vehicles dropped by 18% despite price cuts and discounts. In 2022, as income levels stabilized and fuel prices moderated, car sales surged, with passenger vehicle sales hitting a record 3.8 million units, demonstrating a recovery in demand. So, this is income level. As the income level rises, the demand increases. Food items and demand variations. When onion prices surged from 20 per kg to 100 rupees per kg in 2023, demand dropped as consumers reduced purchases or switched to alternatives like cabbage. In contrast, demand for essential commodities like rice and wheat remained inelastic, meaning that price increases do not significantly reduce the consumption. Let's look at elasticity of demand. In price elasticity of demand, PED, measures how much the quantity demanded of a good or service changes in response to its change in its price. Goods can be elastic, highly responsive to price changes, or inelastic, that is, less responsive to price changes. First, highly elastic demand, which is luxury and non essential goods. Smartphone sales in India are highly price elastic. In 2023, a 10% price hike, that is price increase in premium smartphones, that is those above rupees 50,000, led to a 15% drop in demand as per the Counterpoint research. Cinema tickets are another example. When multiplexes increased prices to 400 to 500 rupees per ticket in urban areas, football footfall dropped, leading to discounted weekday pricing to boost demand. So luxury and non-essential goods are highly elastic, meaning their prices will fluctuate, their demand will fluctuate a lot with a change in price. Inelastic demand, essential goods and necessities, they are inelastic. Petrol and diesel have inelastic demand in India. Despite fuel price hikes, petrol crossing 100 rupees per litre in 2023, demand remained steady as consumers had no immediate alternatives. So for essential goods and necessities, the demand is inelastic. Electricity consumption also shows inelasticity. Even when power tariffs, that is power rates, go up, households and industrial consumptions remains largely unchanged. The demand for that will remain unchanged. Income elasticity of demand, effect of rising incomes. Demand for air travel increased by 48% in 22-23 as rising incomes enabled more Indians to switch from trains to flights. So air travel increased by 48% because of income. Rise in income led to more demand for air travel. Two-wheeler demand is income elastic, with rural demand rising by 30% in 2023 as farm incomes improved due to good monsoon seasons. So as the income rose, the two-wheeler demand in rural areas increased by 30% in 2023. Cross elasticity of demand, substitutes and complements. When tea prices rose by 20% in 2023, demand for coffee increased by 12%, indicating that tea and coffee are substitutes. A 5% drop in mobile internet data prices by Jio and Airtel in 2022 led to an 18% rise in smartphone sales, showing complementary goods relationship. So as the mobile internet data plan fell by 5%, the smartphone sales increased by 18%. And similarly, when tea prices rose by 20%, the coffee price increased by 12%. That is a demand for coffee. So here we have price rising and demand for its substitute increasing. So basically when the price for the tea went up, the demand for the tea went down. The demand went down. And simultaneously demand for its substitute, which is the coffee, increased by 12%. Law of supply. The law of supply states that ceteris paribus, an increase in the price of a good leads to an increase in the quantity supplied. That is, as the price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up. And a decrease in the price leads to a decrease in quantity supplied. That is, as the price goes down, decreases, the quantity supplied also decreases. This is a direct relationship between price and supply and is evident across multiple Indian industries. Let's look at it. Agricultural supply and minimum support prices, MSP. The government sets MSP for crops like wheat and rice to encourage farmers to increase the supply. So basically government will buy at a fixed price from the farmers, especially wheat and rice, which the government encourages them to produce. In 2023, when the MSP for wheat was raised by 110 rupees per quintal, wheat production increased by 4.2%. So we see the law of supply. As the price increases, the production also increases. However, supply constraints exist. In onion farming, despite a price surge to 100 rupees per kg in 2023, supply did not immediately rise due to the time lag in agricultural production. But there are some exceptions also due to supply constraints. That is, they can, even if the price increases, but if there is no production of it, then the supply will not come in. Real estate market and supply adjustments. In 2022, as property prices surged by 12 to 15% in metro cities, new housing projects increased by 28% as developers responded to higher profitability. Conversely, during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when demand collapsed, the real estate supply dropped by 40% with fewer new project launches. That is, as the price of the real estate started dropping due to pandemic, the supply of new flats being made or new projects being undertaken dropped by almost 40%. Textile industry and export supply. When cotton prices surged by 30% in 2022, India's textile exports fell by 15% as manufacturers reduced supply due to uncompetitive pricing in global markets. So when cotton prices increased by 30%, that is the cost to the industry increased by 30%. Of course, as the cost increases, the expenses increases of the textile manufacturers, and therefore they could produce less due to it being uncompetitive in the global markets. And therefore the textile exports fell by 15%. With government incentives under the PLI scheme for textiles, production increased by 22% in 2023, showing how supply is influenced by policy support. So, as the government gave some incentives under the PLI schemes for exports for textiles, the production increased. Technology and semiconductor production. India's semiconductor manufacturing saw increased investments after the government announced 76,000 crore rupees incentive package in 2022. Companies like Vedanta Foxconn planned new plants to boost supply in response to global chip shortages. However, semiconductor supply takes time to adjust due to high capital investment and technological barriers. So therefore the supply will not immediately go up. Even though government has announced 76,000 crore incentive package. Petroleum supply and OPEC influence. India's imports over 85% of its crude oil needs. When global oil prices hit $90 per barrel in 2023, domestic fuel supply remained tight as refiners adjusted imports. The government released 3 million barrels of strategic oil reserves to stabilize supply, showing how interventions impact supply. So, India's basically India imports 85% of its crude oil needs, petroleum products and other things. And when the global oil prices hit $90 per barrel, domestic fuel supply remained tight, meaning there was a shortage of domestic fuel supply. And because of the shortage, government released almost 3 million barrels of its oil reserves that it keeps to stabilize the supply. Because if there is no supply, the demand will go up, and if the demand goes up, the price will go up. And therefore, to stop that from happening, the government released 3 million barrels of strategic oil reserves that it had. The law of demand, elasticity of demand, and the law of supply are fundamental economic principles that influence markets in India. Real world applications include gold consumption trends, fuel pricing, agricultural production, real estate investments, and technological supply chains. The responsiveness of demand and supply to price changes varies based on market structures, government policies, income levels, and global economic conditions. Thank you very much for listening through. Consider subscribing if you haven't, and share the link with your other group friends in your college. Thank you very much. Take care.